Welcome to Cowes on this late May Bank holiday weekend. There's plenty of racing on offer, from JOG's race to Deauville, RORC's Myth of Malham race, racing for the Etchells for the Sir Kenneth Preston Trophy, and the Cowes Keelboat Solent Series for Darings and Dragons. But being a bank holiday weekend, there is of course a cloud on the horizon in the form of the weather forecast. But at least the weather was good for the JOG start.
JOG's race to Deauville started from the Royal London Yacht Club's line on Friday evening in pleasant sunshine and a nice 10-knot breeze from the east-south-east. Class 5 was first away on JOG's 8th race of the season, with 9 boats heading east up the Solent, with a 100-mile race ahead of them. Active Defiance was the first Class 5 boat into Deauville after 15.5 hours, but they dropped to 7th on handicap. The handicap win was taken by Blustery Day, which had finished 5th on the water. Second on handicap was El Marlene, with Alchemist in 3rd. 9 boats started in Class 4, although Hot Rats was to retire later. Only Just led the way into Deauville after 14 hours and 11 minutes, but ended up 4th on handicap. This class was won by Shades of Blue, with Long Pierre taking 2nd and Dragonfly of Bosom in 3rd. The 15 boats in Class 3 were last away. Jacana led this fleet into Deauville after almost 13 hours of racing and secured the handicap win by 2 minutes. In second place came J Fever, while Piccolo took 3rd despite being over the line at the start. RORC's classic Myth of Malham race got underway from the squadron line on Saturday morning in 20 knots of breeze from the northeast and with the promise of much more to come. Classes 2 and 3 were first away at 8:30, with 4 starters in Class 3 and 9 in Class 2. The Myth of Malham race takes the fleet east out of the Solent, then south of the island and west to the Eddystone Lighthouse, before returning to finish off North Head after about 245 miles of racing. Class 3 saw Ultrea retire, but the remaining 3 boats were led home by Cosmic Dancer 3 after 42 hours of racing. On Sunday, a search was initiated for Clarionet after Falmouth Coast Guard received an EPIRB alert, but Clarionet finished safely in the early hours of Monday morning to take the handicap win. Cosmic Dancer came 2nd on handicap, with the X332 X to C taking 3rd. The 9 starters in Class 2 were whittled down to 6 by the finish. Noel Racine's Foggy Dew put in a great performance to lead the fleet home after 38 hours and take the handicap win by 1.5 hours. Simon Kerwin's J105 Voador, sailing two-handed, took 2nd in Class 2 and 1st in the two-handed division. 3rd in class was another J105, Slingshot, also sailing two-handed. Classes 1, 0 and Super 0 started together at 8:40 and mustered 15 starters between them. Class 1 had 5 finishers, who were led home by British Soldier after nearly 36 hours of racing, and they also took the handicap win by 32 minutes. Mostly Harmless was 2nd, and Global Yacht Racing's Panther took 3rd. There were only 2 finishers out of 6 starters in Class 0. Mike Greville's Kerr 39 Eravale 3 took the honours, with Yves Grosjean's J133 Javaro, which was first home, ending up 2nd on handicap. These 2 also took the top 2 spots in the IRC overall results. John Shepherd's Kerr 46 Perdue 7 put out a pan-pan call when east of Start Point on Sunday morning. The yacht was taking in water in the near gale conditions, and Torbay Lifeboat put a pump on board and escorted the yacht into Brixton Marina. In Class Super 0, only Piet Broom's Lutra 56 Formidable made it round the course after 27 hours to take the class honours and end up 3rd overall. With the wind well over 20 knots as the fleet rigged in Cowes, only 2 Etchells braved the conditions to start the first race of the Sir Kenneth Preston Trophy on Saturday. Run by the Royal Yacht Squadron, The event is one of the most prestigious trophies on the Solent Etchells fleet's calendar, but with many of the fleet away or having shipped their boats to Chicago for the Worlds, only 11 boats contested the event this year. UK Etchells class president Ron Thompson sailing Palaver and Jeff Gibbons sailing Mayhem were the brave souls who contested the first race and delivered a great battle for our cameras and the squadron's race team. Mayhem held the early lead, but Palaver's crew hoisted their big kite on the final run. With the extra horsepower they surfed up to Mayhem and, as the finish line approached, they grabbed a big gust to take the winner's gun by inches. With the wind gusting over 25 knots, Jonathan Peel, the squadron's chief race officer, took the sensible decision to abandon racing for the day, but he issued an amendment to the sailing instructions to allow 4 races to be held on Sunday. The following day couldn't have been more different. Racing was postponed to wait for wind before the first race of the day got underway in a light southerly, which was to shift to the southwest during the race. Bedrock went on to win the first race, but the day was to belong to Lawrence Meade's Freelance. With 4 races sailed in the difficult light conditions, Meade took a first, second, third and fourth to discard the DNS from Saturday and take the series by 2 points. Bedrock was second, with Ron Thompson's Palaver taking third. This weekend it was the turn of the Island Sailing Club to run the racing for the Cowes Keelboat Solent Series. Raced off the club's shoreline, 1 race a day was scheduled for the 3-day weekend. Saturday's racing started in an east-northeasterly of over 20 knots and gusting to around 30 at times. Only the Darings chose to race, and 11 boats turned out to battle the elements in what was to be a tough 2-hour race. In conditions that had all the Daring crews pumping water out all around the course, Dauntless led the fleet around the first mark with a good lead from Dashing, which was closely followed by Audax. Dauntless should have had this race sewn up, but they went to the wrong mark, and before they realised their error, Audax, having passed Dashing, was through into a lead they would not relinquish. Dauntless recovered to finish second, with Division Bell taking third. Sunday couldn't have been more different, as the forecast wind failed to materialise. The 11 Darings which again turned out to race had to adjust from the rough conditions of Saturday to deal with the light winds Sunday delivered. The start for this race was to the west against a west-southwest wind and a flood tide, which had all the Darings close tacking down the green. With the wind shifting dramatically and dropping to near zero at times, this was a testing race that took the leaders 2.5 hours and saw only 4 boats of the 11 starters finish the race within the time limit. Dauntless made up for her mistake of Saturday by claiming the win by over 10 minutes, from Darling in second, Destroyer in third and Audax in fourth as the final finisher. 4 Dragons put in an appearance on Sunday, with Supremacy deciding to head east off the line, while the rest of the fleet headed west. Julia Bailey's Amy won the 2.5-hour race by just over a minute, from second place Virago, with Cavalier taking third. With gales and torrential rain lashing the Solent on Monday morning, no one expected any racing, but 2 die-hard Daring crews did turn up to race, and, with the wind easing slightly by midday, the Island Sailing Club's race officer duly obliged, with a short course along the island shore. The aptly named Daring Do was over at the start, but recovered well to beat Audax by 13 seconds after a 45-minute race.
Well, that's all from Cowes this weekend. Join us next week on Cowes Online for all the action from the Vice Admiral's Cup and the second round of the Red Funnel Cowes Keelboat Championship. See you then.